News this evening is the biggest news in town. The Prime Minister's government is hanging by a thread. In a closed-door meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party, the embattled leader is said to have told MPs that he was not prepared to walk away from my mandate. He reportedly told them, "Every fight I've been in, I've won," describing the battle with Nigel Farage and reform as the fight of our lives, the fight of our times. Fighting talk from a man who punches like this.
Just try and whack it. Yes, this is good. And again. That's it. And again. Try and breathe. Relax.
Coming out of the meeting, GBNews' political editor Christopher Hope questioned the Secretary of State for the Environment, Emma Reynolds.
Well, the whole Cabinet supports the Prime Minister, and I've been in conversation with him at the weekend and indeed last week. We have a united front here, and the meeting of the Parliamentary Labour Party, which I've just come from, there was a real sense of unity in that room behind Keir Starmer, because we need this Labour government to face outwards, not inwards, not having fights with ourselves, but actually focusing on delivering the change that we have a 5-year mandate to do.
Yes, delivering the change, but with the resignation of his Director of Communications, Tim Allen, following the exit of his influential Chief of Staff, Morgan McSweeney, and The Guardian reporting that his top civil servant is set to resign, is the Prime Minister fighting a losing battle, trying to cling on? And breaking tonight in The Telegraph, it is reporting that Wes Streeting has been accused of being in cahoots with the Labour leader in Scotland, Nana Akua, to try and oust the Prime Minister. Right, crikey, there's so much going on.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
With me to discuss this is journalist and broadcaster Michael Crick. Michael, welcome to the programme. Good evening.
Good evening.
Do you know, I'm exhausted. It's the beginning of the year. There's been so much going on. OK, let's hear it. Where do you stand on all of this? What are your thoughts?
Well, it looks like Starmer is safe, perhaps for a few more weeks. I mean, clearly there were thoughts about Nana Akua tried to kick off a coup or a movement against Starmer. And I think to everybody's surprise, nobody joined him. The thinking was at about 2:30, 2:45 today, once he'd made his speech in Scotland, that you might get 1 or 2 cabinet ministers coming out agreeing with Nana Akua that Starmer has to go, that a certain momentum might arise. But instead, there was a very good organised operation by Downing Street to get all the cabinet, one by one, to come out in Starmer's favour. And that carried on into the Parliamentary Labour Party meeting this evening, where lots and lots of Labour MPs got up and said how wonderful Starmer is. And you would have thought that, all the journalists' reports of the last few months and weeks about how Starmer is finished and they want him to go were all rubbish. But, the fact is that very few people have actually publicly come out against Starmer. They're cowardly in a way. They say it privately, but they won't say publicly. And I think there is always within the Labour Party an element of loyalty and solidarity. Maybe it's the sort of trade union background that you don't get in the Conservative Party. They're much more ruthless in the Conservative Party. They don't like a leader. They get rid of them much more quickly. Labour very rarely do get rid of leaders. But Starmer still has huge problems: the economy, the health service, immigration, the Gorton and Denton by-election, and of course the Welsh and Scottish and local elections in May. So the problem will come back, but he's bought himself a bit more time.
But he's good at that, isn't he? Rallying everybody around, getting people to all agree with him. I mean, what he did to Andy Burnham, to scupper Andy Burnham's chances. I mean, as I hear, he didn't really need to vote, but he went in personally to vote to make sure that didn't happen. But then at the end, he's no good at delivering it, is he? He managed to get everybody to rally behind him, but in reality, nobody's really ready to take over. And, well, who's going to take over if he went right now? No one's.
Well, I think that's probably one of the reasons why there wasn't a coup today. That nobody's really ready, and some people in a rather difficult position right now. I mean, Angela Rayner, the HMRC still haven't cleared her over whether over her stamp duty and whether she should be paying them a large sum of money. She's not ready to go. Wes Streeting's in a difficult position because he's regarded as having been close to Peter Mandelson, although he denies that. Andy Burnham is disqualified at the moment because he's not a member of Parliament. And so there aren't actually many contenders in the wings who are ready. Interestingly, one extra contender, who I think is quite credible, actually, has emerged in the last few days. Increasingly, Labour politicians are talking about the possibility, almost as a caretaker, a compromise candidate, of John Healey, the Defence Secretary, who's 66, so he's getting on a bit. Although I talk to somebody who's 67, and maybe he'll have an appeal. A bit like in the Catholic Church, traditionally it's said that young cardinals vote for old popes because it then gives them a chance of being pope later on. And maybe Healey would be a compromise that would appeal to the various factions and the various would-be leaders, because they can think, well, we'll let him do it for a few years, maybe take us into the election, and then I can stand properly a bit later. So there's a possibility. And, he's reckoned to have done a good job as Defence Secretary. And there are people on the left who like him because he did quite a lot of work in the trade union movement, press work and campaigns work for the TUC and one of Britain's biggest unions many years ago. So he could be a compromise candidate, but who knows right now? It's all sort of put on hold, really. But I don't think that Starmer can go to bed tonight thinking that he's got nothing to worry about.
No. Well, I guess John Healey's sort of non-offensive, isn't he? He's not really said anything silly at the moment, and he probably hasn't got any links to Peter Mandelson, he's hoping. Right, Michael Crick.
Well, I don't know. Most people in the Labour Party have had links to him at some point.
Oh, God. Anyway, Michael Crick.
I mean, people like him. That's the other thing. He's a friendly guy, and most people seem to like him, and he gets on well with journalists. That's probably a bad sign. But there you are.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. Really good to talk to you. That is journalist and broadcaster Michael Crick. All right, well, joining me is my panel, journalist and broadcaster Benjamin Butterworth, US political commentator Jennifer Ewing, and also former Conservative MP and now Labour member Mark Logan. And also with me to discuss other stuff, we'll be going through all of that. But let's talk to the panel first. I'm going to start with you, Benjamin Butterworth. He will be going, in my view, at some point, maybe not now, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon.
I think the only person going on longer than Keir Starmer is Michael Crick, judging by that interview. Look, I mean, Patrick Maguire, the Times journalist, put it fantastically the other day when he said it's over, the question is when. I think you'd have to be a fool to not think that. The truth is that tonight we saw lots of Labour MPs, all the ministers and cabinet ministers putting out public declarations of support. But it's a house of cards because ultimately the reason they're doing that is more to do with the fact that the candidates to replace him have said this is not the time, rather than a real depth of support for Keir Starmer as he is right now. And so I think there's no appetite to turn the page at the moment, because who would want to come in as a leader with a likely with the by-election happening, who knows what will happen in that, and then a likely bad result in the May local elections. And so for that reason, Keir Starmer will stay in place. And also, I might point out, if he gets to May and then there's a leadership election and he remains Prime Minister then, he'll be close fought as to whether he does longer as Prime Minister than Rishi Sunak did, which might be something in his own mind.
Or maybe he'll last longer than the lettuce. We've got a cabbage up there. Just but
don't cabbages last a while?
They do, they can do. That was
He'll be thrilled. He'll be so optimistic that you've chosen the cabbage.
That's sort of a mistake. What do you think? Mark Logan?
Well, I don't think it's all over quite yet. I mean, the Prime Minister, he has a massive mountain to climb, there's absolutely no doubt. But actually, I put it in perspective of 4 years ago, almost exactly to the week, we were going through all of this with Boris Johnson, something similar. I wrote a Times piece at the time, towards the end of January in 2022, saying that we needed honest leadership. And I think what the key difference is between Boris at that stage and with Keir Starmer is I do genuinely believe Keir Starmer is a man with integrity. He has good values, where Boris didn't. Boris, I tell you what, 4 years ago, it was deeply frustrating at the time because Boris had many things about him in which he could reach out to the nation, etc. And he was a convivial guy to be one-on-one with and have a bit of crack and a bit of fun with and whatever else. But he wouldn't change.
A bit of a crack with.
Yeah.
Have a bit of crack with.
Well, the Irish version of crack, which obviously means fun. CRAIC. So he was someone who he had potential at the time 4 years ago, but he wouldn't change. The leper wouldn't change its spots. And I think when you look at Keir Starmer, you're talking about a completely different beast in this regard. So I don't think it's over yet, but he is in a very difficult situation. I mean, there are some good things coming out of the Parliamentary Labour Party this evening, of course, in the Palace of Westminster, where people were saying he was coming out fighting. He did seem prime ministerial. He seemed like he still had a fight in him. So we'll see how the Gorton by-election goes over the next few weeks and the local elections coming up to that and see how much you can corral the team behind him.
What wasn't the problem? We knew what kind of an animal Boris was. Nobody knows what kind of animal Keir Starmer is at all. He says one thing, does another, and then the next thing you know, he seems to be linked with all these dubious characters that seem to... I mean, what was the stuff going on with Phil Shining? That was a bit odd. He wrote a chapter in this book that was about the ECHR and how he could prosecute soldiers who've come back from war. Then Phil Shiner then suddenly ends up being done for fraud. I mean, and the whole Chagos deal, the Mauritian Prime Minister, who he seems to have some links with, suddenly is found with a suitcase of money and visas, UK visas, and all this stuff he seems to be connected with. But yet he comes across as pale and non-offensive. I'm not sure about Keir Starmer. Jennifer Ewing.
Yeah, first of all, I do agree with Benjamin that I think it's just a matter of timing. Now is not the right time. We saw that a little bit in the lead up to the US 2024 election when, they pushed Joe Biden off the cliff and then they didn't really fight to have a primary because a lot of the good candidates said now's not the right time. The other thing with regards to Keir Starmer, I mean, sure, people can say he changes his mind or changes policies, but to me, and even in the statement today, it was like, I've never lost a fight. I've never done. He doesn't seem that patriotic to me. And I think that voters, and I'm not a Labour voter, but I think that voters will forgive somebody, having new information and changing their mind. But, if you don't come across as you want the best for your country, then I don't see how anyone's going to back you. So, I mean, you could see that people are, getting ready, regardless of what they say tonight. They're getting ready to challenge him.
I heard the speech the way you heard it.
Yeah.
Like he's saying, I've never lost a fight. Well, hold on. Why should you be the one that is fighting? What are you fighting for? Is this about you personally? Or is it about the greater good of the country? Is it better for you to step aside and not fight? Why do you have to?
Exactly. That's exactly what I took from it, which is just so self-absorbed and almost narcissistic. Like, you didn't hear a lot about the great British public or the people, and, we realize things aren't great right now in this country. I think I have the best ideas to get us back on track. That would have been totally acceptable, but it was... me.
It was like his sorry when he did say sorry about things, but then he sort of said, I'm sorry that I listened to him and that he lied to me. He lied to me. Oh, come on, please. What did you not read the room? Did you not read what everybody else knows?